these thoughts up in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here.
I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm your host, Ed, and as always, journey with me as we pursue greatness in a world full of chaos. We're back at it, episode 34, Be the Light. That's what we're going to talk about this week, about being a light, what that means, what God says about us, how we should illuminate in our everyday lives, and just, being a positive light to somebody who's in need. So I hope that your week is going well. Hope that things are looking up. If you've been following from last week, car progress still kind of at a standstill, but some small progress. We're getting closer to getting a resolve, but it's been a challenge, but we still gonna trust and do what we need to do. Okay. With all that being said, though, shout out to all the new followers over at TikTok. I see y'all. Shout out to everybody on Instagram and everybody who has liked, supported, commented, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, whatever the case may be. Appreciate you sharing the stories as always. So let's keep running that up. If you guys need anything, you know where I'm at. You can find me over on Instagram at OverthinkingThoughtsPod, and you can also find me on TikTok at OverthinkingThoughtsPod. We're also on YouTube at the Overthinking Thoughts Pod, and then we're also on Spotify, Google, Apple, YouTube, where all podcasts are heard. So make sure you check us out and keep supporting. All right, so we are 34 episodes into this thing we call the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. And once again, if you're new here, we are pursuing greatness in a world full of chaos. One day at a time, one step at a time. We're not trying to rush things because we don't want to be overwhelmed, nor do we want to overthink it. It's kind of a podcast for overthinkers, high anxiety people, and those who just don't know what they don't know. It's my goal to share God's word, share God's light, and hopefully find a way for us to alleviate some of those unnecessary things that we don't need. So with that being said, we'll jump right into the episode. Actually, let me take that back. There's been some positives throughout the week, man. There's watching people get promotions, find new job opportunities. I'm watching my kids grow. School's almost out, so we got to figure out what we're going to do with them. But overall, we're alive, we're well, we're moving, we're growing. I'm going to take that. Today, I just choose to be happy because I'm alive. So I'm just gonna run with that and just use that as my motivation. So with all that being said, we'll jump into the episode. So be the light. What does that mean? I think we have heard stories, where God says, "Let there be light," or "I'm the light of the world." You are the light of the world, so on and so forth. And then we're told to kind of be a light to others. And sometimes we don't know what that looks like, right? How can I be a light when I feel like I'm in such a dark place? How can I be positive in somebody else's life when I'm trying to figure out my own? And you'd be surprised that sometimes in the midst of your struggles, people will see you and think you're at your strongest, even though you may not feel like that. But it's important as followers and believers to continue to be an encourager, even in your darkness, shedding light on those things. So that way you're able to step out in faith and go toward with the goal which you've been called to do. And one thing about light that is so important, we kind of take it for granted. Number one, we expect when we come home, we just hit the switch, the lights are on. We expect, like, when we get in our car, our headlights work. We expect that if we walk into, dark rooms with the automatic lights, as soon as we walk in, the lights just come on, right? Like, that's what we expect. But what happens when it doesn't? What happens if we're in a dark place? Do we forget who's with us? Do we forget that God is there? Because he's always present, whether you feel him or not. He is with you. And the beautiful thing about God being with you is that God is light. God is the light of our world, right? So light helps us see the path in which God has called us to walk. With him, there is no darkness. Every dark thought that you have, every dark moment you go through, every obstacle you face where it just seems like there's a dark moment, you have to remember that God is our source of light. And so whenever we feel like we're in a dark place, we can always turn to him because he's going to give us the light that we need. So in 1 John 1-5, what it says is, this is the message we have heard from him and proclaimed to you, that God is light, and in him no darkness at all. So God is light, which means that if we turn to him, we don't have to stay in those dark places. We don't have to feel like we're by ourselves. We don't have to think that there's a dark cloud over us. We might feel overwhelmed. We might feel stressed. We might feel anxious. We might feel like there's no hope, but with God, there is hope. And light helps us to see all of that. And so when you go through my favorite Bible verse, or BibleRef.com, it tells us that this message begins with the idea that God is entirely goodness and truth, with no evil or falsehood. This is phrased in terms of light and darkness, common themes in the New Testament. In verse 1, John alludes both to the creation account in Genesis chapters 1 and 2, and the introduction to his own gospel in John chapter 1. God's first recorded words are, "Let there be light." That's Genesis 1:3. John chapter 1, verses 4 through 5 records, "In him was life, and the life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." Here in 1 John chapter 1 verse 5, John adds that God is light. He is without any darkness or shadow. He is both perfect and without sin. So God's light, and who God is, he walked this earth without sin. And it's so grateful that God gave his only begotten son so that for our sins we can be forgiven. But we have to remember, and we have to, when we walk this life, like, we're not perfect. We actually are. We're sinners. So we are with sin, but God provides the light so that we no longer have to walk in the darkness, and we can turn away from those things that separate us from God, right? So if there's things that you are putting in place of God, and this is a common thing that happens, is that a lot of us have voids that we're trying to fill, and we don't know how to overcome those things, right? And as we go through, we go back to the vices that we feel are comfortable, right? Some of us have already used God's word as that comfort. Some of us have a great prayer life, probably got a war room with all your prayer requests on it, people that you can talk with, prayer lines, pastors you could talk to, which is all great. Some of us don't. I know that a lot of us are, whether we're new in the faith or whether we're just trying to figure it out, or we just need people to turn to. Sometimes we don't know how to turn to other people and say, "Yo, I need help," or "I need guidance," or "I need light." And yet God is telling you, "I am the light. Come to me." Because what the light does is it shows you the path and where you need to go. You try to walk through a problem in darkness, you'll only end up running into walls. You'll never find the door that'll open. You'll always end up in the same place, walking in circles. And sometimes the only thing that you need is a little bit of light to shine in, regardless of how dim it is or how bright it is. Light helps us to see where we need to go. So if we feel like we're in a dark place, if we feel like we're in a dark spot in our jobs, family, relationships, whatever the case may be, God is saying, turn to me so I can give you the light and show you the path in which you need to walk. It's something that we struggle with as humans. I think we are, well, some of us, I know with men, it's like, fine, I'll just do it myself. Like, I'll figure it out. We need help too. So as if God is telling us that he's a light, then we need to look to him as that guiding source. You know, the other thing that light does, it exposes the darkness. So in dark places, as soon as that light comes on, you're able to see everything that's going on. There's certain things in our life that we keep in dark too. But with God's light, we can expose those things. So we can let go of regret. We can let go of battles we face. We can let go of the addictions that we might battle with. We can let go of regrets, dark sins, bad mistakes, bad decisions, things that we hold ourselves and go, man, I just feel like I'm imperfect. Look, man, everybody in this world has done something they're not proud of, but everybody can turn to God and get the light that they need to be successful. And everybody can trust in God to know that once that light is on you, it's not for you to feel ashamed or guilty or, oh my God, I'm a terrible person. It's, hey, there's hope. Light gives us hope. Light gives us a way to see things that we weren't able to see before, right? Like if you are on a dark road and you're driving and you not quite sure the direction you're going in, the minute you cut on those lights, you're going to be able to see exactly where you are, and you're like, oh, I'm going the right way, or nah, this ain't the right path. I need to refocus and get myself back on. It's the same thing in life. A lot of us are walking the dark roads and we don't have to. We can just turn to God and say, here is what I have. I'm not quite sure where to go with it. When I talked about my first episode, which was what are you waiting for? It could be that you just don't know where to start. And you're trying to figure these things out from a dark place because you've been so frustrated trying to figure it out on your own that you just don't know where you're supposed to go, right? So in that case, it's like, I need light to show me where I'm headed. And God says, I'm going to provide that light. Here you go. It took a while for me to figure it out for this podcast. I had like so many ideas of what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do. And then I just sat on it because I was like, I don't have all the professional equipment. I don't have the soundboards. I don't have the professional microphones and all this other stuff. And then at some point, it was just like, if you don't do it, it's just not going to happen. So I just told myself, I remember I got on my Instagram and I just put it in my story and I was like, whoever sees it, cool. If they don't, I'm holding myself accountable. And I just remember posting this story like, I've been trying to start a podcast for so long. I've waited for 2 years. I've been procrastinating. I'm finally doing it. I'm releasing it on this date. Y'all stay tuned. And then I had to put in the work. But as I started trusting, I was like, okay, God, like this is what I want to do. How do I move forward with this? As I trusted in his faith, he gave me the strength to go through with it. And so now you look up and it's like, if I wouldn't have started then, I wouldn't be here. This is episode 34. Just imagine if I wouldn't have started the one. Ain't no telling where I'd be right now. I probably would still be second guessing this thing. And I'm so glad that I did it. And so as I progress, I start to grow more. So that's the goal. And I think in life and everything that we do, we want to continue to grow. We want to continue to move. But we can't do that if we don't have the proper light. God is our light. God is our source. God will illuminate in us so that we can be radiant to others. We have to trust in him. The biggest thing is like at going back to the thought of, man, when this light hits me, I'm going to be like, oh, so ashamed or whatever like that. Man, use that light to grow. God's shining a light on it. He's saying, hey, I want you to fix this, or hey, you're going the wrong way. Let's walk together. You've been trying to do it your way. Trust in me now. Hold my hand as I guide you. Here's the light that you needed. God's light is in us. It is. When we are believers, when we trust in God and what God can do for us and what God has provided for us is in his word. It's in the scriptures. It's in, our prayer life. You can get light through prayer. You can get light through worship. You can get light in going through church, but you can get ultimate light by building a strong relationship with God. Talk to him in the morning. Even if it's just, Lord, thank you. I woke up today. That's something to be thankful for. There's light in that, right? Because you wake up in the morning, there's light. If you can see that, oh, I made it to the next day. Thank you, God. Talk to him throughout your day. If there's moments of stress or moments where you're starting to feel anxious, ask God, like, okay, I'm going down a dark path. Help me to come back. I lost my light. I lost my way. How do I come back from this? I've gone too far. How do I come back from that? Before you go to sleep, Lord, thank you for everything. Thank you for just allowing me to get home safe, allow me to get here, allow me to do these things. Oh, that just made me think of something. I want to share this. It's kind of off topic, but I'm going to say it anyway. I watched this TikTok the other day. I thought it was so profound. This guy was talking about how, I forget, his baby has like, it's a newborn baby. I forget exactly what the term was. I can't remember. Well, I don't know if it's the correct word, so I'm not going to say it, but I just know that there was something going on with their child, and him and his wife were kind of not at odds, but just the stress and the worry of making sure the baby is okay. It started affecting like personal life. It started affecting their intimacy. It started affecting the way they communicate. So they kind of got into an argument. And he went off to work and he was kind of down, and his coworker came up to him and was kind of like, yo, man, like, what's going on? He's like, I'm good, but me and my wife were getting into it, and we had this argument, so I kind of left. I haven't spoke to her. When I get home, I'll talk to her. And coworker said something so profound. He said, who told you that? And he was like, who told me what? And he said, who told you you were going to get home? And the guy just kind of stopped and he started crying because it's like we take all that for granted. And in that moment, he was operating in darkness because he was angry. He's frustrated at the situation. And it's okay to have emotion. That happens. We're human. But at the same time, in that emotion, he was operating from a dark place because he hadn't spoken to his wife. And in some ways, it's kind of neglecting his child because if he's arguing with his wife and his wife needs something and they haven't spoken, ain't no telling what could happen. So you're walking around with this dark cloud of anger, and the reality is you thinking that everything is just fine, but you could get in that car and something crazy can happen. And for him to have a coworker shed light in that aspect, it allowed him to realize I need to call her now. So he ended up, I'm assuming, because at the end of TikTok, he said he was going to call his wife. So I'm sure he did. But it just makes you think like sometimes we see situations and we're like, man, we'll deal with that whenever. And all it takes is an encouraging word from a friend or a brother, sister, family member, whatever the case may be, to shed some light that maybe you didn't see. And that's the beautiful thing is that we are also lights. Like we have this, we have this ultimate radiation in us that God lives within us. And if God is light, don't we have light to share too? Right? So we talk about and this world, I mean, we've seen so many things. Too many things to name. Seems like we're in a dark place. A lot of people think it's the end of times. A lot of people think that we're just in a dark phase. A lot of people just don't care. But I think we all know that we do need God in every moment. And if we're talking about being in such a dark place and operating in a dark place, isn't it up to us to be that source of light that the world needs? And you might think like, oh, I don't know if I'm equipped to do it. Well, Matthew 5:14 says this: "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." Here's the meaning behind this. Spiritually speaking, there is no light in the world apart from Jesus Christ. His light, it shines through every person who belongs to him. In this way, the light of Christ is distributed into the darkness in every corner of humanity. That this light is meant to be visible to the world is also important. Jesus adds to this metaphor by referring to a city positioned on top of a hill. It is not meant to be hidden. A city on a hill is meant to be seen and found even in the darkness of night. During the time of Christ, the walls around a city on a hill were often made from white limestone, which would be relatively easy to see even on a dim night. In the same way, the light of Christ is not meant to be hidden on earth. It's meant to shine out brightly from all who belong to Christ. And to take it even deeper, what you realize is when he's talking about this, he's talking to his disciples. So he's telling his disciples, you are the light of the world. Like you have this in you, and I want you to share my word, and I want you to go out, and I want you to spread the good news, and I want you to spread the gospel. So even if you feel that you're not equipped, God is telling you that you are equipped, that you are the light of the world, and that you can shine. And this is not in a conceited way of you walking around thinking you better than everybody else because you're gonna burn out quick if you do that. This is in a way of being able to give hope to people where they feel like there's no hope, to give an encouraging smile, an encouraging word, an encouraging prayer, something that allows people to step back up when they feel like they've fallen on hard times or they feel like they can't get out or their world is dark. Because quietly, when people are in the dark, they're just looking for a little bit of light. They're looking for a little bit of hope, a little bit of encouragement, a little bit of substance. And shame on you if you're not allowing yourself to be that light. Seriously. And if you don't know how to go about that, I would encourage you to pray on it. Lord, how can I be a light to somebody today? Whether that is offering an extra tip for somebody, praying or paying for somebody's meal, praying over somebody, helping somebody with groceries or getting stuff to their car, opening the door for somebody, speaking a good word. Man, I was walking to the grocery store the other day, and this guy, it's kind of like he appeared out of nowhere. I was in my own world because when I go to the grocery store, I'm not really trying to I try to get in, do what I need to do, and get out. Because people be in there whipping the carts around like they in like traffic jams. Like, look, man, I don't want to get hit by your car. I just want to get this milk and go home. Like that's all I want to do. But I'm walking in the store. I'm trying to think like I got to get this, that, and third. And this guy's walking. He was like, "Man, it sure is a great day to be alive, isn't it?" It's just like, yeah, it is. He was like, "Man, I hope you have a great day." He's like, "Are you doing okay?" I was like, "I am now." Like, I felt so like encouraged. Like I was just walking in the store to get in and come back home, and he gave me this like new outlook of just like, man, it's a great day to be alive, isn't it? Man, it feels good. And he probably was like in his 60s, I would guess. So there's no telling what he's seen in life, but he was just so happy to be seen. He was so happy to be alive. And then he shared that happiness with me. And then I'm walking in the store like crazy happy. I'm nodding at everybody. Hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? Like it's amazing how one person can spark that. And you could be that one person. You could be that person on your job who sheds light. You could be that person, in your family at home, like encouraging people to do well. People you just meet out in public. You just never know what people may be going through, and you being kind to them. You just saying a word or just acknowledging that they're there, smiling at somebody. Like sometimes, like you might get a person that just don't like they hit you with like the stale face, and you might smile at them. They might not smile back, but they'll remember it. They'll know, like, man, somebody actually noticed me today. That goes a long way. You know how many people walk around in life thinking that they're not noticed, thinking that they're not heard, thinking that they're not seen? You know how many people walk around in such a dark cloud and they won't tell you about it? There's so many battles that people fight that they won't put out there. There's so many struggles that people are facing that they won't put out there. There's like we don't like to show vulnerability. I'm one of those people. You know what I'm saying? Like we don't like to do it. But man, isn't it encouraging to know that there's people, they ain't trying to get on in your business. They just want you to know that you're seen. They want you to know that you're hurt. They want you to know that, hey man, you're going like you're encouraging me. Good job. Keep up the good work. Like you'd be surprised. You'll be surprised. Like it's always eye-opening, like when somebody you work with or somebody you helped out, they come back and tell you about it. And in your mind, you're like, I was just doing my job. And they're like, no, but you really helped me to do well. And you're just like, oh, cool. Like it's a good feeling. But you can be that light. You can be that person. You can be the one that shines bright. I think it's interesting because I had a conversation with somebody about this today. I like put it out there as a compliment of like, man, you're great. You're the best. Keep doing your thing. And they're like, man, I'm struggling with it. I get anxious. I always feel like I'm not doing enough. It's like if you run down this person's pedigree of what they do and the like, you were to pull the resume of everything that they do, the amount of work that they do is above and beyond anything that we do. But it's considered, but because of the job title, it's considered like people don't notice it. We see it all. And without this person, we wouldn't be able to operate. I'm like, nah, you need to know it. Like, I'm gonna speak it to you because you might be thinking that you're not doing enough. And I'm telling you, you doing so much for us to help us grow. And we sell ourselves short sometimes because we think that we're not capable. Like we see other people, we compare ourselves to other people, and we're like, man, that's what they can do. I can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I did that with my podcast. Like my brother, I love my brother to death, man. He, within the time span of it took for me to just start this podcast, he basically had two. He started off with one. It got a little shaky, not because of him, because he actually was about his business, right? And he was like, nah, I'm gonna regroup, I'm gonna recover, just watch. And he came back with another one. And life got busy. He had some things he had to do. And obviously, when that happens, you have to decide on what's best for you and the people that you support. So he's taking care of himself. He's taking care of his fiance. He's trying to get some things in order. And I'm sure that once all those things are back, he's going to come back to it. But we were talking a while back, and he's like, man, look at all this stuff I got. Like, I'm invested in it. I want to help you grow. And it's like he was doing all this, and he was also slowly like, and I didn't realize this, but he's like, man, as I'm building, I'm trying to bring you along with that too, because I want you to grow and get your network out there. I was just like, man, that's crazy. But he supported the dream, he supported the vision, and the fact that he was able to build that, it gave me faith And it gave me strength to be like, I could do the same thing. So I went with it. And you look at 34 episodes. And you look at and you wonder, and like for me, I always wonder, like, is what I'm saying important? Am I doing good enough? And I stopped thinking from that aspect, and I told myself, like, before I do these episodes, I say a quick prayer and I say, Lord, let this message reach who it needs to reach. Let it impact those who it needs to impact. Whether that's one person, whether that's 1,000 people. Whoever God needs this to get to is going to get to. I'm going to trust in that. That's the light, right? I think the other thing too is that some of us don't think that we're bright in our paths. We've made mistakes. We've gone down some dark alleys. We feel like we can try to turn around, but it might be too late. It's not. It's never too late to chase after the light. It's not. If you have successfully woke up today, you're able to operate and function. You can look back and see those dark places. You can start walking in light today. You can. And God will be forever pleased. And you know what will happen? He'll say, all right, here you go. He's going to flash his light on you and show you that he's there. But he's also going to reveal the light inside of you. And all of that is going to be built for the greater good. All of it. We got to trust in it. I think the other big thing to remember too is like, and I say this a lot because it's something I think about, but no matter how dim you think your light is, you might be the brightest light in somebody else's life. So keep shining. You might think that you're not perfect, which we're not. And you might think that, oh, people don't pay attention to me, but there's always somebody watching. There's somebody who is encouraged by your spirit, somebody that wants you to keep going, somebody that doesn't want you to give up. Do it for them. Be the light for them. Because truthfully speaking, somebody's going to see what you do and somebody's going to be inspired by it. You walk into your life the right way, trusting in God, believing that he's going to get you from point A to point B, standing strong even in the midst of adversity, standing strong even in the midst of your anxiety, standing strong even in the midst of overthinking or being overwhelmed, and you still show up every single day and you're giving your best. Come on, man, somebody's going to see that. I need you to see that. I need you to believe that. I need you to know that what you do serves a purpose. Your heart beating, you can feel that. You got purpose. You got breath in your lungs. You got purpose. You got a voice. You can see. You can, and even if you can't see, like that made me think of something. I remember a while back, working with a family, and mother was blind. And then she talked to me about all these things that she was doing. Cross-country road trips, lavish vacations, family outings, motorcycle rides. I was just like, word. She said, man, I don't let this stop me. Just because I can't see it don't mean I can't experience it. And I was like, man. And some of us see stuff and we don't experience it. So how is it that this woman is going out here loving life and we can see everything and we're sitting in darkness? It makes you think. And so she's a light to me because she helps me realize that, man, I have these I have these senses that God's given me, and I have this podcast that I can put out. I have the TikTok platform. I have people that I've met over the course of time, and I try to encourage them every single day to do the best that they can. That's all I can do. That's my light. What's your light? What defines you? What has God put in your life that will allow you to shine, that allows other people to grow and see how far you're going, that gives them encouragement, that gives them a hope, that gives them just a sense of belief and belonging and being noticed? What is that? What can you do with your light? Challenge yourself this week. Use your light for good. Trust in God. Be faithful. And no matter what you do, don't you turn your light off, because somebody's going to need it, because you're going to illuminate their path. I believe that for you. And as always, I believe in you. Now go believe in yourself, all right? It's the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm Ed. We out.
These thoughts have been in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here.
I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know